Well, guys, this is it. This is the one movie that sent this man's career on an unfortunate downward spiral into mediocrity. A film that he was so passionate about making despite Amblin Entertainment refusing to distribute it for him. You know, you gotta admire Shyamalan's persistence. Dear God, this finished product, though. And it's not even his worst movie! What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to the M. Night Shyamalan playlist. I'm having such a great time looking back at all of his old films in the build-up to Old, releasing on July 23rd. And I sincerely thank you all for stopping by. I hope you enjoy your stay, because strap in, it's Lady in the Water time. As I've mentioned, this movie was a huge passion project for M. Night Shyamalan back in 2006. It stars Paul Giamatti, Bryce Dallas Howard, and it's about a mechanic who finds a very strange girl in one of his swimming pools. Oh, we're doing one of those movies. And when Cleveland Heap, played by Giamatti, rescues an enigmatic young woman named Story, played by Bryce Dallas Howard, from danger, little does he know that she's a character from a bedtime story, a fable, and she's trying to return to her world. As Cleveland somehow falls deeply in love with her, he begins to realize that he and fellow tenants are also characters in the fable, and they must work together to protect her from those who would prevent her from returning home. Good lord. Yeah, in case you couldn't tell, I want to get really analytical about Lady in the Water, so just in case you've never seen it, I'm gonna get into spoilers. I fairly warned you. So listen, everybody, before I get started, I went into this watch completely blank. Before I even decided I was doing an M. Night Shyamalan playlist, I knew that there were 3 of his films that I had never seen before, and I was actually kind of excited to finally check them out. Lady in the Water was one of those films. So I gotta say, it's very refreshing to see a brand new film in a retro series like this. And, I mean, you know, I guess I could start off with some positives, because despite my tone throughout this review so far, Lady in the Water does have some positive elements to it. I am not even kidding. First things first, Shyamalan really does know what he's doing technically when he's in the director's chair itself. The shot composition and the cinematography in Lady in the Water is great. It's honestly just as good as any other Shyamalan feature film. Technically, he does a fantastic job helming this thing. And the CGI effects to go along with it for 2006, 2007, whenever this film came out, these are pretty damn impressive. Some of these creatures look absolutely majestic, almost like we actually are seeing a fairy tale or a fable playing out before our very eyes. And that was the whole idea that Shyamalan was looking to bring to the table with this film. Again, as I mentioned, Amblin wanted nothing to do with this distribution. They thought Lady in the Water was probably the silliest idea that Shyamalan had had up to this point. I mean, they're not wrong, it kind of was. I don't think Amblin had any idea what was coming next, though. But as you all know, I can't help but admire whenever a filmmaker is this passionate about a project and is this persistent on getting it out there. And I have mad respect for Shyamalan for wanting to make this film despite the obstacles that he was facing. Granted, the persistency and the passion project aspects lead into my issues with this film, which I'll get into. But before that, I want to talk about this acting in the film. Pretty darn good for the most part. Shyamalan himself takes on a larger supporting role in this as opposed to his gratuitous cameos he makes in his previous films, and his character is a writer who's struggling to get his ideas out there. Yeah, that sounds pretty familiar, and it kind of feels like a giant middle finger to the distributors who didn't believe in him. I mean, call it petty if you want to, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut in that regard. Speaking of petty, there's also a movie critic character in this who, like, you know, I feel like, okay, character may be the wrong word to describe him. Caricature, I think, is more accurate. I mean, this guy was good for some laughs here and there, but I'll be honest, this gimmick was wearing thin around the time the creature gobbled him up. And I guess I should talk about Paul Giamatti at this point too, while I'm on the performance aspect of it. I thought he was easily the best part about it. As weird as this character's circumstances are, Giamatti was excellent. You, oddly enough, feel for this character's struggle, and you just feel so sorry for this guy. I can't believe I'm saying this. I wanted to give Giamatti a big ol' hug throughout this entire runtime. That's the mark of an effective actor right there. I think this performance is extremely underrated. Bryce Dallas Howard, on the other hand, I wasn't the biggest fan of her as Story, and yes, that is her name. She does have a lot of extremely stoic moments that I just couldn't buy as overly legitimate, sadly. And there were definitely points where I could see her inexperience at the stage she was at in her career seeping through the cracks. Which leads me into my big issue with Lady in the Water. Unfortunately, this script is just so discombobulated and confusing. I'll give Shyamalan credit where it's due. There is a very, very neat idea here. But other than that cool little illustrated opening montage that we get explaining this outside world, we don't really know that much about the mythological stuff in this film. We just basically have to imagine that this mythological world that Shyamalan is claiming is there is in fact there. Now, I've praised Shyamalan for using this technique in his scarier films like Signs, you know, leaving things up to the audience's interpretation on what certain things look like. But in the fantasy genre, when you have a small child reading the sides of cereal boxes explaining what this mythological world looks like to the audience and we don't get to see it for ourselves, that's where I have an issue. It's almost like, say you turn on Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and you get to that iconic scene where Hagrid barges into the Dursleys' beach house to pick up Harry to go to Hogwarts on his 11th birthday. You know, the scene where you get the iconic, "You're a wizard, Harry." But instead of Harry following Hagrid out of the beach house and off to Hogwarts, imagine if Hagrid had instead just told Harry what Hogwarts was like and what wizards were and what magic was. And then he just cruelly leaves without him with the Dursleys, so we basically get to see nothing. I think you guys might get the picture. That's basically what Shyamalan did with Lady in the Water. He said that this mythological world was there, but we didn't get to see it. I think that was a huge missed opportunity. Like, imagine how much cooler and more original this film would be. I would honestly think Lady in the Water would be top tier Shyamalan if we got to see this world. But we don't see it, do we? All that being said, as much as this film annoyed me with how many missed opportunities there were, this is far from Shyamalan's worst. There are still some admirable things in this film, like the direction and Paul Giamatti's performance, but this is definitely the start of a noticeable trend of disappointing Shyamalan films. And this fucking script, man. What can you do? I'm gonna give Lady in the Water a C. Again, like The Village, guys, here's the deal. I know a lot of people hate Lady in the Water, and trust me, I won't fault you if that's you. You've got every right to hate this film. But in my opinion, it is really not Shyamalan's worst film he's ever put out there. We're getting close to that point. This is all just one guy's opinion, though. What do you guys think of Lady in the Water? Do you think it's underrated? Do you not? And I'm also curious, what is your favorite movie based off of a fairy tale or a fable? It's probably not this one. But regardless, I would love to continue all this discussion all down in the comments. As you know, I love making these videos for you guys and starting the discussion with you. If topics in cinema and all things entertainment sound appealing to you, definitely consider hitting the subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. You can always change your mind later. It's completely free, and the subscribers also get to know any time a new upload hits the channel first. And make sure to hit that thumbs up button on your way out too. That would be awesome. And as always, guys, look out for more exciting content hitting the channel very, very soon. That includes the next entry into the Shyamalan playlist, The Happening. Yeah, that's the whole joke. The Happening. Jesus fucking Christ. Stay tuned, friends. But you guys are the best. And with all that being said, back talk, commence.